The aspirations of this possible world were as egalitarian as they were scientific. In fact, one of its model communities was known as Democracy. There were no slums, but there were television sets, computers, and a robot. It was there for the first time. People saw these things that would change their lives. But on this last night of April, they had come to hear the greatest scientific genius since Isaac Newton say a few words. Albert Einstein was the opening act for a dramatic production number that would choreograph forces of nature as if they were the synchronized swimmers in the water ballet at the fair's aquacade. Einstein was to give brief opening remarks and flip the switch that would illuminate the fair. The spectacle promised to be the largest flash of man-made light in technical history, visible for a radius of 40 miles. Oh, wow, but not as mind-blowing as the source of this sudden, unprecedented brilliance. Across the East River in Manhattan, Professor W.H. Barton, Jr. of the Hayden Planetarium of the American Museum of Natural History was calibrating instruments that would grab mysterious lightning bolts from unknown parts of the universe and turn them into light, seizing power from the cosmos just as Prometheus stole fire from the gods. A few decades earlier, a scientist named Victor Hess had discovered that the universe was reaching out to touch our world many times a day. Bolts of radiation in the form of charged particles were striking Earth. A single proton could contain the energy of a baseball pitched at 60 miles an hour. They came to be called cosmic rays. 3 oversized Geiger counters were installed at the Hayden Planetarium to capture 10 cosmic rays for the momentous opening of the World's Fair. Once ensnared by the Geiger counters, their energy was to be magnified through vacuum tubes and then transmitted across a network of wires to Queens, where Einstein and the crowd were waiting. The cosmic rays would supply the energy that would turn night into day, flooding with blinding light a new world made possible by science. But first it fell to Einstein to explain cosmic rays to the public. He was instructed to keep it to 700 words at most. Initially he refused. Impossible, he thought. Cosmic rays were a mystery to Einstein and his contemporaries, and to the scientific community when I began writing this book. But such is the relentless probing of science that as I was completing the final draft of this book, cosmic rays were revealed to be from distant galaxies generated by some of the most violent processes in the universe. Einstein thought that 700 words couldn't possibly be enough to explain the complexity of this mysterious phenomenon. But above all, he was a true believer in the scientist's duty to communicate with the public, and so he agreed to give the talk. Imagine that last night of April 1939, an evening more freighted with cinematic foreshadowing than many a movie. The world was mere months away from the German invasion of Poland. The start of the Second World War, the most catastrophic global bloodletting in human history. A 5-year-old Carl Sagan couldn't have a fancy dessert and the World's Fair souvenirs he coveted because his parents and the rest of humanity still hadn't crawled out of the impoverishment of the worst economic depression that ever was. In Germany, where hyperinflation in the 1930s meant a wheelbarrow was required to carry enough paper money to purchase a loaf of bread, the desperate population turned to a demagogue. And yet, on a planet that was about to murder 60 million of its own, and to impose unimaginable suffering on tens of millions more, a world with some of the dimmest prospects in human history, people came together in massive numbers to celebrate.